Hey guys, we are talking today about Al Qadar, and of course I've got my textbook in front of me ready for anything that I might forget, but hopefully I will not. Now, Al Qadar is one of my favourite topics. Okay, it's one of the reasons I really enjoy um, Islam and also religion as a whole. So I'll kind of try and talk you through. This is a very complicated topic because you have to really think about it and really try and visualize it. So I totally appreciate if it's going to be a bit difficult. Okay, as long as you understand the basics, that's what's really important. So the idea here is all about Al Qadar, and that means predestination. It means that our lives have been predetermined by Allah as part of the decree of Allah, which is one of the 6 articles of faith. So, what is fate? Do you believe in it? Do you know anybody who does? The people who believe in fate believe that in the end it will all be okay because it's destined. What will be, or there might be that everything happens for a reason sort of attitude. Okay, so the learning milestones today are to assess the implications of Al Qadar and to identify and describe the nature and importance of predestination, to explain how human freedom and Al Qadar relates to Day of Judgment, and to assess the divergent understandings between Shia and Sunni on the implications for the belief in Al Qadar today. So, not all Muslims believe in Al Qadar, but most of them will. So, okay, let's get started. Fate means the development of events outside of a person's control, and it often is the case that they regard this predetermined by some sort of power. Now, that power does not have to be that you view that thing as a god. It could just be that you feel that there's some power in the universe. If you believe that something is written in the stars, you believe that it will all be made to happen by a force that controls the future. So it's all just the way it's meant to be. Okay, you can have a little look at that clip in your own time. So, what is the nature and importance of predestination? Muslims believe that in destiny and fate, which is controlled by Allah. Predestination is the key term here, but if you're talking about predestination, I want you to be using the phrase Al Qadar. And this is the concept that Allah knows everything, has already decided what will happen. So He already knows what your fate will be because He has already decided, He has set a plan aside for you. Muslims believe that Allah has put laws in place for human beings. These include factors outside of a person's control. So there are already things that they're out of their control. They cannot interact with. So such as laws of nature, where they're born, who their parents are, the genes that they have, what they will look like, those sorts of things. You can't decide that as a human being. You are born to who you are born to. Muslims would say that these things are predestined by Allah. So you are always meant to be who you are, which is really kind of, for some people, that would be a really, really comforting view. Most definitely that you're always meant to have this life and it will always be okay in the end. For others, it might be a really terrifying view if their situation is much more difficult than it really needs to be. And for some people, that might be really horrible. They might be upset about that. I guess it would depend if you have won what we call the social lottery. Have you been born to, I don't know, to growing up in a loving, caring family where money isn't an issue, you have fantastic intelligence, you're good at everything, you have lots of talents. Or perhaps if you haven't won the social lottery and you're raised in a war-torn country with lots of difficulties and all the things such as healthcare, social care, things such as healthcare and everything like that, they're not there to look after you. So some people be upset about that, the fact that they have no choice over where they are born. We know this because Allah is an all-knowing creator, as we can see from the source of wisdom. He is the all-knowing creator, and wills something to be, His way is to say be. So all He has to do is say something is to happen, and it does. This is important because it confirms His omnipotence. It helps Muslims understand that everything happens for a reason. It's part of His plan. If you're suffering, it can sometimes be a source of comfort because you know that Allah will make it all right in the end. And that end might be next week, or that end might be in the afterlife or Akira. It helps to realize that the laws governing the universe are there to benefit. So, for instance, there is enough water on our planet to sustain us. There is fertile land in which to grow crops which we can eat and stuff like that. The temperature is right for our species, and we manage to survive on it. So all of those things, they are there to help us. Okay. Human freedom. Okay, so this is a really, really big thing. So free will. We know that Allah gave humans free will. He created them with free will so that they can choose their behavior. Now, some people would say, well, why would he do that? Well, the reason that that's given, okay, is because does it count the same, guys, if somebody wrongs you, something's gone really, really bad, okay, somebody's done something and upset you, if they're forced to say sorry, does the apology count the same as if they had done that out of their own will? Okay, it's kind of that idea. It's somebody's free choice. It means more that somebody has freely chosen to be good, means so much more than if they were just a robot. Sometimes people's choices or behavior are in harmony with Allah's wishes. So sometimes they choose to follow the path that has been led for them through following the guidance of the Quran or the Kutubullah. This means that they are following Allah's plan for humanity, as in to follow the rules and guidance of the Quran. Muslims' prayer and worship can change Allah's will or predestination for somebody. So you can ask for something to change. You can pray that something good happens to you. You can pray that I don't know, that for your birthday you get the type of cake that you want or something like that, and hopefully that would happen. Okay, but on a grander scale, obviously these are things such as I hope that I pray to Allah that my family will be well and happy or something like that, and hopefully Allah hears that and changes the destination. They believe when they pray Allah's will is revealed to them so they will know what to do. So they believe they're in open communication with Allah at that point, and they are guided afterwards. If Muslims misuse their free will and behave in a way that goes against Allah's predetermined plan, then you will be punished in the next life. Now, some of my year 11s absolutely loved what the story that I'm going to tell you, and some of them they absolutely hated it. So I'm hoping that you guys or some of you will like this way of looking at it. I kind of see Al Qadar and I picture it as a bridge. Okay, so on one side of the bridge is you, and you are standing at the very edge here. Okay, we have got the bridge, and then at the end is Al Jannah, okay, which is the paradise afterlife. And essentially, we have the choice of how close to either side of the edge of the bridge we want to travel. Now, underneath the bridge is Al Jahannam, okay, the hell of the Muslim afterlife. And you can choose, if you want, to have a little peek over the edge of the bridge and to maybe not follow the guidance of Allah quite as carefully, and to have a little look at what could happen to you. And you might choose to not pray 5 times a day for a whole week. You may choose to drink alcohol. You may choose to be mean to somebody or something like that. And that pushes you further and further towards the edge of the bridge. Now, you do not have a choice whether you walk across the bridge or not. That is going to happen. That is time. Okay, time passing brings you closer to the other side. All right, it just depends if you're going to follow straight in the middle where you never look at either side, you're not tempted, and you are just focused on getting to Jannah, or whether you sway from side to side, having a little look, maybe sometimes doing a good action, maybe another time thinking, oh, I don't really fancy doing that today, I want to be this kind of person. And if you want, you are freely able to jump over the bridge and into Jahannam all by yourself if you choose to do an action which is so terrible that it cannot be redeemed. Apologies for the phone. Okay, so state 3 Muslim attitudes towards Al Qadar. So one Muslim attitude towards Al Qadar is that Allah has set out a path for you. Another one is that the laws of nature are in our favor. Another one is that there are things that we cannot change as human beings, such as who we are born to, our genes, or the social situation we're born into. Explain 2 reasons why it is important. One reason why it's important is because it guides Muslims throughout their life. Another reason it's important is because it proves Allah's omnipotence. And then you would have to explain those for the 4 marks. Okay. How do human freedom and Al Qadar relate to the Day of Judgment? So, what is it about judgment that relates to Al Qadar? So, we know that Judgment Day in Shia is called Miyad. So, the Day of Judgment, you will look at in more detail in the Akira lesson, but really it's an event at which your actions are judged. Now, what is the problem with this? Well, one of the problems could be that if Allah has set out this path for you, has He chosen that you will be the kind of person that ends up in Jahannam? Has He chosen that on Judgment Day you will go to hell? And what does that really say about the nature of Allah? So you'll be using AO2 there for a D question. What does that tell us about the nature of Allah? When a Muslim dies, their soul will be brought to Allah by the angel Israel. Allah will then judge their good and bad deeds. So you would have to think about the two lots. What have they weighed? They are literally put on scales. They are given in recordings by two angels who sit on a Muslim's shoulder. One is called Kiraman and one is called Kataban. And they are passed over to Allah on the Day of Judgment. Would Allah punish a person who committed a crime as they were born into a criminal family? Muslims believe that that would not happen. They believe that Allah makes exceptions for the fact that you might have been brought up in a family that, say, in really poor social situation, poor social setting. So you're born into a life of crime, drugs, that sort of thing. It's not your fault, and therefore the way that you've been socialized, so the social things that change who you are, the way that you're raised, that's not your fault. You can't make that decision as a small child. So therefore Allah is merciful. Muslims believe that He is merciful anyway, as part of His beneficence. So we understand that certain actions, but we also have a duty to do the right thing. So some of us should know that everybody should know that we are not to kill people. That is a basic requirement of being a human being. It feels wrong to do it. So, to make that choice is something that Muslims would consider to be a bad action. When we're thinking about things such as ISIS and terrorism, really we need to be thinking about Al Qadar as well and how much freedom they truly do have. Okay. Do you think that all Muslims agree with total predestination and that He is in complete control of your life? Really, we need to be thinking there, what is the free will argument? How much free will is a human being allowed? Okay, so these are the divergent understandings. I'm going to walk through them slightly. So this is where your AO1 and AO2 come together. So agree with total Al-Qadar. The decree of Allah is one of the 6 Sunni beliefs. So they believe that Allah is in control of your actions. And the Al-Qadar is closely connected to the Day of Judgment. It reminds Muslims that of the omniscience of Allah and that they must be prepared to answer for their actions in the afterlife. We can't go through life just thinking, oh, well, there are no consequences. There should be consequences both in this life that we're experiencing and in the life afterwards. To disagree. Jews reject total al-Qadar as because it contradicts the idea of Adalat. It is not just for Allah to punish a person for something He has been predetermined. Now, we could say, though, that in that situation that we know that Allah is going to be merciful for somebody who has had a predetermined situation which may have led them to a life of poor choices. It is logically impossible to believe in Miyad and Al-Qadar. So for some people, they don't believe in the both, for the reason being that how can we, if Allah knows where you're going to go, what is the point of even having Miyad? We may as well just send you straight there. There doesn't need to be a judgment day. You just go straight to that location. Instead, Allah has control over certain things, but not all things as Sunni believe. For example, your lifespan is controlled by Allah and can be impacted by your actions in this life. So a bit like I was saying with the bridge idea, it's up to you how much you want to sway, and you can choose to fall directly off the edge if you wanted to, even though the end goal is obviously going to be Jannah in the end. Which argument do you think makes the most sense? Which is the strongest? So we would really need to be thinking here, well, do we agree with this side? Do we agree with that side? We need to do, if we were doing a D question, thinking about and picking apart, critically deconstructing the arguments, what has been offered here and what has been offered on the other side, and what is the impact, which one should a Muslim now believe in after having weighed up both sides of the argument. Okay, I want you to have a little look at the clip and to have a little look through about an understanding. The main thing though really is that you're understanding that it gives Muslims a connection to Allah beyond than being born and following him. It's that he's always there. He's closer to us than our jugular vein. Your jugular vein is in your neck. The idea being that he is immanent. He is always with us. And that it is all part of his control. He is there to guide and to maintain life. Muslims believe in the same story of creation as Christians. However, on the last day, Allah does not rest. Okay, that's really important. Allah continues to maintain his creation. He continues to look after it. And part of that, we could argue, could be Al-Qadar. Okay. Al-Qadar and human freedom are incompatible. That's a difficult question. You really have to think about beyond just what you've been given. You really have to think about what it means to have human freedom. Are we free? Regardless of whether you believe in religion or you do not believe in religion, the question of human freedom is still very important. And as always, you have on the end of here all of the lesson plans, the question plans for you to have a little look through. So we should have gone through the divergent understandings, which we just did, and the implications of their belief, the impact that freedom in Al-Qadar has and Judgment Day, and then hopefully we can understand that Al-Qadar is all to do with predestination, the idea that you have been given a predetermined path. Okay, guys, so I'm going to leave it there today. Make sure you give some of the exam questions a go. If ever you want to send in any to Miss Marable or me, that is absolutely fine. We look forward to seeing some. Have a wonderful day. Bye.